Hey guys, Josh here. A little late, but I'm here in my review of Jurassic World, which was released last Friday, and I barely have seen it. I saw it Monday officially, and I guess the best way to start this review is simply to tell you that the movie is so impressive. I've seen it 3 times within a span of 2 days, which speaks a lot for a movie. Usually, I don't rush to see them that often and rush to see him that many times in that short span of time, but this one was special. And so let me just go back in the history of this movie. I, along with many people, saw the teaser trailer almost a year ago. It showed you very little, piqued your interest, and in the recent month especially, you saw so much advertising for it. You couldn't go an hour without seeing an ad on TV for it. I mean, the advertising for this movie was crazy. So for a while there, I was scared, thinking it was being way overhyped, and I thought the trailers were showing you everything there was to see in the movie. And I thought I was heading for mild disappointment. I mean, for I saw the trailers, it was already going to be better than what the other movies after the original had offered, but I don't know if it would be anything close to the original. However, finally seeing the movie, I can put a lot of those worries to rest. With statement number 1, it is definitely better than any of the sequels that came after the original Jurassic Park. Is it better than the original Jurassic Park? That is a matter of, I guess, of personal preference. I mean, most people I see out of it's 50-50. Well, no, I don't say 50-50. I say it's more... I'd say the vast majority of people who see this movie will say that it's not as excuse me, very dry throat. People will say that this movie compares very well to the original, but it's not quite up to par with it. And then there is a group of people though who will actually tell you that this movie goes beyond what the original one did, which I guess in some aspects it does. But to me, my personal opinion, you can't beat the original Jurassic Park, which I would give it 10 out of 10. But since I placed the movie at 9 out of 10 stars, it comes very, very freaking close to the original, and that's the beauty of it. This is a very well directed movie, very well acted movie in every sense of the word, and it's not something to be missed. It really isn't. Now, this was directed by Colin Trevorrow, who was basically, I guess you could say, I won't say a brand new guy on the scene. He's had a few films done, but none of which I've seen. I don't think he's done anything of this particular high of a budget or popularity, which is crazy. I mean, that itself had me worried for quite some time, but it actually came out really freaking well, and let me go into reasons why. Now, one of the main things that attracted people to the first Jurassic Park movie was an excellent cast. You had Jeff Goldblum, you had Sam Neill, you had Richard Attenborough, and so many other great actors playing really memorable characters. For what they may have lacked in depth, they were just very interesting characters, and no matter what happened to them, you were worried about them the whole time. Every Jurassic Park movie after the original has suffered with making you care about the characters. I mean, Lost World, let me put it this way, let me go on a quick, I guess, short review of Lost World and Jurassic Park 3. Lost World was, to me, an interesting movie action-wise and dinosaur-wise. However, character-wise, it was hard to get into any of the main protagonists, mainly because a lot of them were assholes. Vince Vaughn was the eco-terrorist, as far as I was concerned. The guy who was willing to sabotage everything to save the animals, which I guess at a certain standpoint is okay, but when you start sacrificing human lives for animals, there's a certain line you cross there, and once you watch movies enough time, you realize, man, none of this would have happened if he had just not, been a dick. He was basically the Dennis. What Dennis was in the first film, sabotaging everything, that's what he was in this one. Vince Vaughn was in the Lost World. So when you look at it, you can't really sympathize with him. He's an ass. whole. He should have at least been killed for his sins, but he didn't. He was portrayed as a hero, which doesn't really work considering how many people he gets killed. And then Sarah Harding, played by Julianne Moore, once again, not exactly the smartest scientist in the freaking world, and that's for a number of reasons, but reasons I can't dwell on. Just the biggest ones, I guess you could say, is the whole stealing the baby from its mother, Tyrannosaurus Rex's, and of course the infamous scene of keeping the blood-soaked jacket on when the T-Rex, which has the biggest nostrils in the freaking world, is after you, and lo and behold, he tracks you guys down because of that jacket covered in baby T-Rex's blood. Leads to, what do you know, more chaos on the humans' part. But enough about Lost World. And then, but I could watch Jurassic Park Lost World. I would give it like 6 out of 10 or 7 out of 10 stars. Jurassic Park 3, which by that time I was old enough to actually go see it in theaters, basically disappointed the unholy hell out of me. Like, there were so many things wrong with Jurassic Park 3 that, to me, I could actually have enough patience and enough heart to buy the second movie, but I would never buy the third. It was that bad for me. And there's so many reasons why I don't want to get into all of them getting away this review, but yeah, I avoid Jurassic Park 3 like it's plague, like it has leprosy. Fuck that movie. Now, but Jurassic World, getting back on point here, avoids a lot of those problems by looking past what those sequels did and simply going for what the original did. For anybody who's confused like me before the movie came out, yes, this movie does mull over all the Jurassic Park sequels, which to me is fine. It's fine. It doesn't really matter. Nothing really that major happened with the characters within the 2 sequels that needs to be guarded here in this movie. No. So basically, all it's doing is, like, which is cool. Like many Godzilla films in the past, is only keeping the original film in its timeline, and that's all that matters. And that's good because it makes for a much more interesting story than having to go off those past bullshit ones, which admittedly would be hard to follow up because then you find, once again, why the hell are they still going to this island? But basically the story now is that Jurassic Park, now called Jurassic World, is a fully established theme park with dinosaurs galore and rides and advertisements up the ass. And that's the cool thing about this movie. It keeps a very interesting story and setup, while still having lots of humor that fits very well. Very well. Probably a little more, the humor's probably not as subtle as it was in the original film, but it works for a modern audience. It really does. Another reason this movie works, like I was saying before I think off track, was the human cast is very well done. Now, a lot of people have been doubting Chris Pratt. I mean, ever since Parks and Rec, he's been known as a very funny guy, and he kind of fulfilled that kind of vision in Guardians of the Galaxy. He was the same kind of funny, goofy guy, but he did have his serious moments, but people weren't really fully convinced by his acting. But once you watch Jurassic World, you'll be convinced that Chris Pratt, I hate to say it because I don't want to sound like a guy who just jumps on board, but Chris Pratt really is an amazing actor, and you see it come to life in this movie. He's both funny and very serious. And what can I say? I'm on the Chris Pratt bandwagon now. He's really good. He's one of the best human protagonists, probably is one of the best human protagonists we've seen in the whole Jurassic Park franchise in quite some time. Probably the best one since we had since the original movie. Because I did not like Sam Neill in Jurassic Park 3 for a number of reasons, but that was what they did with the character, not with the acting. But in any case, he was really good. He's really good. Bryce Dallas Howard, my new favorite crush, Bryce Dallas Howard, was very good in this movie. And unlike a lot of the evil bad guys in these movies, she was still very likable. I mean, she was just a person who made mistakes and had a certain viewpoint that was, you could see it being reasonable. And then her transition to a more likable character was very welcomed. You know, she wasn't the very forced hero that we saw in Lost World, and certainly not the fucking assholes you saw in Jurassic Park 3, who tricked you into going on a fucking trip to save what's ulterior motives and fuck you over. But nonetheless, she was a very likable character. This movie, the kid actors were very freaking good. Actually, they were very likable characters, played by Nick Robinson and Ty Simpkins. I'm not familiar with what they've done in the past, but they were freaking good. They were very enjoyable characters. If they were show up in a sequel, because I've heard there is going to be a sequel already, I would not mind it at all, because they were very interesting characters. They were funny, emotional, very well acted kid actors. I liked those guys. They were very cool, portions of the movie. They had some of the best scenes, which makes it really great. So yeah, I don't mind them at all. Vincent D'Onofrio, this guy is amazing. Vincent D'Onofrio, who legendary guy who played Private Pile way back Full Metal Jacket, and now he was the lead villain in freaking the new Daredevil series on Netflix, and here he is playing, I guess, another villain, you would say, in Jurassic World. He was very freaking good. I just love Vincent D'Onofrio and anything he does. He has a very magnetic way of acting, he just draws you in, and you appreciate it so much because he was very good. Very interesting villain. I'm not the same thing you've seen before, where it's a snobby rich guy. He has very different motives than most other guys in these movies, but like I said, very well acted. Well, I guess I should have said this from the very beginning. This is a kind of a spoiler review. I mean, so I'll say this: it's sad that we're not going to see him again because he's already dead. But for what we saw, though, he did very well for this movie. And then, I guess before I get too caught up in the cast, I just want to say a few more notable people. And I hope I'm saying this right. Irfan Khan as Simon Masrani, who's basically the new guy who takes over Jurassic Park as far as CEO goes. Basically, that's what happens with this movie. A new company comes in and takes InGen under its wing and then brings it back to its feet, I guess, after the incident like 22 years ago. Which was very important to the story for me, because a lot of people wonder, like, how does a park recover from that kind of damage, publicity-wise? And that's how a new company took over, renamed it, blah, 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 refinanced it probably, and then made it bigger and better. So yeah, Irfan Khan as Simon Masrani was a very good character. Once again, another one I was sad to see die in this movie, but that's the charm of the movie, though. You actually cared when he died. He was a very likable character. And then I guess the last, there's a lot of other great actors in here, but I guess the very last one I want to note would be B.D. Wong, who comes back as Henry Wu. He was very good in the movie. He was very good. For what little we saw, he was very freaking good, and I would think very different than he was in the original Jurassic Park. I mean, the first one he was kind of just your generic scientist guy, not criticizing, but in this one he definitely comes off as a lot more, I won't say insane, but he has a definite, I won't say evil, but he has a very shady persona to him. He really does, and he survives, so I'm pretty sure we're going to see him in the sequels, however many there may be. But this is going to be very interesting, because he's only a cast member from the original movies who came back. Maybe in future films they'll have Sam Neill or somebody come back. Who knows? But as of right now, all we have is B.D. Wong, and to me that was enough. He did pretty great in his role. He had some of the best lines in the movie. But anyways, moving on to so I guess how the look of the creatures go, because that's very important. The Jurassic Park franchise is known for, in all three films, for having very legendary and amazing looking monsters, namely, of course, dinosaurs, but other creatures like pterosaurs and other things that really wowed people for generations. Jurassic Park had legendary animatronics, legendary CGI, then Lost World, most people criticize the effects in that movie for some reason. They say the CGI is poor quality. I mean, I guess I kind of see that, but for me, the effects in that movie were still quite on par. Jurassic Park 3 had, for the most part, very good effects. I can't honestly blame them on the effects-wise. Effects were pretty good in that movie. The only problem was they were so underutilized in that movie that you still felt underwhelmed by the movie as a whole by the time the credits started rolling. You felt so disappointed. You felt like they could have done so much more with the story. And that's the best part of this movie. The story doesn't feel like you got cheated here. Like they could have done more. They feel like, wow, they really upped the ante. They did all they possibly could, which is great. You don't walk out feeling, oh, there's something, I wish they would have done this. No, you feel like this was a really good entry, and now, like most movies, like a good movie's supposed to do, you're wondering what they could possibly do next to top this. Which I was kind of surprised to hear there's going to be a sequel, and a little worried there's going to be a sequel, but I am kind of interested about it. Like, what could they possibly do next now? Because they did a lot of the ideas right in here that Jurassic Park 3 got wrong. For example, Jurassic Park 3 tried to introduce two variants of a water dinosaur or water-like creature. Because I know I'm a dinosaur nerd, so Mosasaurus, Plesiosaurs are not dinosaurs specifically, but they lived at the same time, so I guess you just call them water reptiles. And of course they had Spinosaurus also in that movie, which is a semi-aquatic dinosaur. But they handled those both very wrong. The water reptile we never got to see in the opening scene of Jurassic Park 3 killed the guys in the boat, but we wonder how and why the boat still be there, what happened to them, blah blah blah. But you never see the creature. Spinosaurus was very mishandled because it just wasn't done right. They made it too overpowered, and it, unlike any other monster in the whole genre, it had no freaking proper conclusion. They just kind of let it die off in the screenplay, and I don't mean that literally. It just literally just walks off and never see it again. Had a very bad conclusion, very bad climax, very anticlimactic in Jurassic Park 3. But here, it's done right. We finally get to see a water creature. It's done very freaking well. I need that freaking poster of the Mosasaurus chasing the shark. It was just an amazing sight. I loved it. And then here they got the pterosaurs a little better too. They're not as big as they were in Jurassic Park 3, which works out a lot better. Seems a lot more realistic. And the whole birdcage thing makes a whole lot more sense in this movie. Because in the last movie, Jurassic Park 3, you have people walking around, and then the pterosaurs walk out and try to eat you, and then you sit there wondering, like, so pterosaurs are trying to eat people the whole time. What the hell was the point of the little, catwalks in the side of the birdcage? Like, did the scientists walk around and just hope they wouldn't get eaten by the pteranodons? Beats me. But this one makes sense. You don't really see humans actually inside of it. I think it's more of an observatory, which would make a lot more sense. But nonetheless, chaos ensues and they get out. And I think that's one of the main themes of this movie, which is a great thing. Once again, like on Jurassic Park 3, which had basically no theme to it, this one goes back to the original theme of Jurassic Park, the theme of chaos and respecting nature. That's basically what it boils down to. As with many movies about this, science fiction genre, it's about abuse of power, and that's what this movie boils down to. People abuse power, and then when it comes back to bite them in the ass, it bites them really, really hard. And that mainly comes not in the form of any human abusing the power, although it kind of does, but the main culprit is, of course, the new star, Indominus Rex. If I'm going to start with dinosaurs, reviewing them and how they looked and how they behaved and how awesome they were in the movie, the Indominus Rex was a really freaking good villain. That's why it was just really awesome. The way it looked was incredible. They went from more Giganotosaurus and Carcharodontosaurus look as a skull, which I'm glad for. It doesn't look like a T-Rex. It looks very different, which is great. It has a very different color pattern than any of the dinosaurs we've seen so far. The pure, almost whitish gray look, which looked really good. And it had a personality, which I'm glad they emphasized in the movie. And they emphasized why it's doing what it's doing. The movie's always trying to explain what the animal is trying to get out of the scenes. I mean, Jurassic Park, it was just, it's trying to eat, exploring territory. Jurassic Park Lost World, they were after the baby, trying to protect their territory. Jurassic Park 3, they lost point of that. Why is the Spinosaurus following these little insignificant humans around? We don't know. Spinosaurus doesn't know why he gives a shit about these people. But he does keep coming back. Indominus was given plenty of motive. And it was just a badass villain. What can I say? This thing was freaking amazing. It drives the story so well that, what can I say? The most entertaining science fiction villain in quite some time as far as dinosaurs go. and monster movies, which this movie basically amounts to, and it's a very freaking good one. Don't let me distract you with that. It's very good. And Dumpster X for the freaking win. Hell of a villain. All the dinosaurs look really good in this one. I'm glad they used some new ones. You know, I love the Brachiosaurus, and we saw it in the first and third film. But today they used APATOSAURus. We see a lot of the classics like Triceratops and Stegosaurus and Ankylosaurus. And they all look really freaking good. All the dinosaur designs are really great in this movie. Now, moving on to some of the more popular ones, I guess you could say, at least the most recognizable icons in film history, the Velociraptors. They were done thanks to Chris Pratt too. He was definitely important in that, but the Raptors really took on a different persona in this movie, and I think people are really going to appreciate it, and that's the main thing that's going to make people love the movie so much. The Raptors are given so much personality as opposed to the last two films. I mean, in the first film, the Raptors were an icon of freaking terror. You know, they're basically even worse than the T-Rex because they were on a personal level. They wanted to kill everything. They were hyper intelligent. You know, they were a nightmare. And then they tried to follow that up in Lost World, which they did to a degree, but they faltered in some places. And by Jurassic Park 3, it was kind of a joke. Basically, the ending was really bad, with the Raptors very underutilized. But here, they use them perfectly well. They give them personality, and it's freaking awesome. You just love seeing them in action, even when they're not killing people. That's the best part. Even when they're not killing people, it's great to see them on screen, and you care about them. You care about them as characters, especially the relationship they have with Chris Pratt. And then once the action does start, I don't know if I should spoil a lot of it, but all I can say is that the Raptors have so many good scenes. I guess I won't. Screw it. I mean, I already spoiled some of it, which characters die, which don't. But Raptors, all I can say is whether they were with or against humanity in this movie, you loved them, even when they died. When I guess they should have properly died because they were killing people by the dozens. You still felt sorry for them when they finally died. I was like, that sucks. And that's the important thing the movie did for you. You know, you still felt like they're watching a human die when you finally saw the Raptors, the 4 Raptors. Not all of them died, but what can I say? I don't want to get too into it, but a lot of them die horrible deaths, and it's so sad. But that speaks a lot to the movie, though. When you feel sad for a raptor dying, it says a lot. You come to love them. And then, so, moving on past a lot of those, pterosaurs in this one were very interesting. They had 2 variants in this movie, which is very cool. I think the main big one is supposed to be Pteranodon, but from the size and the look of the crest, which is a lot smaller than usual Pteranodons in the movies, it could have been a Quetzalcoatl, which is a way bigger than Pteranodon, though, so I have to look it up again, but I'm pretty sure they intended it to still be a Pteranodon. It just looks a little different than what we usually see out of them, which is the long, pointy crests coming out of the top of the head. But I'm saying, but for the most part, size-wise, it looks like a Pteranodon. Definitely not as oversized as they were in Jurassic Park 3. And then, of course, we get the cute little Dimorphodons, which is very cool. I didn't expect to see Dimorphodons in this movie, which were the smaller pterosaurs, which basically, if you're a dinosaur nerd like me, come from the early or late Jurassic, and they have a very different design to the Pteranodons do. They don't have the beak. They have more like a standard, really big, clunky head with sharp teeth. I mean, they did do the design a little odd, and most times you see Dimorphodon depicted in any dinosaur encyclopedia or whatever, or online, you'll see it. They'll draw it more with like a puffin-looking head, with a certain beak with teeth in it. Here they definitely took the movie route, gave it a small, clunky, almost T-Rex-looking head on a pterosaur body. But, it's a movie, and I don't judge them or blame them for it. Why not? Go for it. And it looked pretty cool and amazing and adorable. But also very threatening, too. So that was a good thing. The pterosaur scene was awesome. The Mosasaurus, freaking great. I'm glad they definitely didn't let that go unused. so glad they finally put a water creature from the Mesozoic era in this movie. And what can I say? I'm definitely not going to spoil, but the Mosasaurus is a freaking badass. Gotta love it. For every amount of screen time it got. And then, well, I can spoil this because before the trailers they weren't showing it, but now that the movie's been out for officially 1 weekend, they're actually showing the T-Rex in the trailers now, the TV spots. So yes, to make sure this movie does qualify, I mean, it take place in the same universe as the original, the same T-Rex from the original Jurassic Park is in this movie. And she finally makes an appearance near the end. She takes part in the final ending battle, which, let me just say, will be the most epic battle for quite some time, unless Star Wars at the end of the year outright beats it. But to me, my God, I mean, I haven't felt that thrilled about an ending battle since freaking 2014 Godzilla last year, and that's the same vibe I got, which is so important. The movie got that right. A titanic struggle between giant monsters that really just wows you to freaking death. And it was just, yeah, it was just amazing. The ultimate team up happens, and I'll let people watch that for themselves. But my God, the movie is just, as far as action goes, they went balls out, and it works so damn well. You will be a kid in paradise all over again. I think anybody can get into it, but for fans who've been disappointed with the action in the 2 sequels, this one really makes up for it all. It really does. And I'm just looking forward to what they could possibly do next or surpass it, but they pulled out all the stops in this movie alone. It's also probably the most brutal of all the 4 films. This is probably definitely the most brutal. I mean, Indominus Rex kills dozens of people. Dozens, I'd say literally dozens. And the deaths caused by its fucking rampage, a lot of people. It has a much higher death count than any of the other films, which is very interesting. Some people say it went too far, but to me, I felt like that made it so much more entertaining. I'm not saying violence really drives the film, but the fact that they're willing to go that distance, to me, made it all the more enjoyable. I mean, sure, some of the scenes you could have done without if you really were offended, I guess, or you want to take a young kid to see this, but for me, none of them were in that poor of taste that made you regret seeing it. To me, it was just like, wow. You know, that way he was able to surprise you. You're like, oh, shit. I mean, there are a lot of moments in this movie where your heart was pounding, and you're just like, holy crap. And you felt really bad for the humans. So, that makes it all the more enjoyable, right? You know, by the time we get to the end of the movie, you really wanted Dr. X to die because such a fucking asshole of a monster. But, what can I say, that made the movie very, very freaking good. Now, if I had any minor qualms, I know people were saying the story is getting some kind of criticisms for blah blah blah, the realism of it. I mean, as far as I'm gonna say, the story is more than good enough for me to enjoy without picking it apart. I think the story is done very well. Sure, it pays a lot of nostalgia to the original film, which it needs to do. It needs to do it because that movie was a legend and it has to do that. But I don't think any of it was in poor taste. I don't think any of it was. And the story, you know, people may say, you know, it's the same old things in any dinosaur movie for that matter. I mean, this movie follows a lot of the dinosaur, I won't make it sound bad, follows a lot of dinosaur cliches you see in films, like you've seen in 2005 King Kong, you saw in Jurassic Park 3 where, you know, giant 48-ton monsters are going after humans for no freaking reason when they could easily go after bigger prey. Luckily here they can avoid that cliche to a certain degree. But of course there's certain things, you know, you can avoid, like pterosaurs lifting up humans, when of course it's already been scientifically proven that they probably wouldn't be able to lift up things as big as actual humans. I mean, why would, you know, basically, I guess you'd say a pelican-sized Dimorphodon go after a full-sized human? We don't know, but it makes for entertaining scenes though, and as far as the story quality goes, I think it's done very well. As far as effects go, a lot of people are criticizing because it, excuse me, it goes full CGI. far as I can tell, there's probably only like one animatronic dinosaur, which is the APATOSAURUS scene where it's dying. Very sad scene. And to me, yes, it is sad to see that the animatronics have definitely died down as far as usage, but the CGI was very well done throughout the whole movie. That I'm not complaining, and I love practical effects. You know, I'm a Godzilla guy. I love seeing practical effects in use, and seeing them diminish here to almost no usage at all was a bit sad. But also, it also didn't bother me though, because the movie uses CGI very well. And the CGI, of course, for modern day was very good. The only small critique I would have for the CGI is near the end with the T-Rex. And the T-Rex looked really good the whole movie. And you felt really scared for it. You rooted for the T-Rex. The only time I criticized the way the T-Rex looked was at the very end after, you know, it's all said and done. The T-Rex stares down at Blue, the remaining raptor. And for a second there, it has really almost, I would hate to say, but puppy dog looking eyes. They look way bigger than they should have been, but I guess maybe it was done for emotional effect, I don't know. But it never had that kind of cute puppy dog eyes ever again in the series, for even for the rest of the movie or ever in the series. But it was small thing that bugged me. But for most of the movie, for the rest of 99.9% of the movie, T-Rex looks really freaking awesome. The eyes are the right size, and yeah, it looked freaking great. It was just great to see T-Rex again and not get his ass handed to it like it did in Jurassic Park 3 for no fucking reason. Here, it was understandable. About dinosaurs of almost equal size, with freaking raptor-sized arms, with opposable thumbs. Kind of hard not to lose. Understandable. I don't blame T-Rex this time for having a little trouble beating this guy. And he's hyper-intelligent, of course. And I guess before I finish this review, the score was freaking amazing. Michael Giacchio, who basically, from what I read, did a lot of the Jurassic Park video games, and last year he did the score to Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. So from the very beginning I knew the score was going to be very good, because Dawn of the Planet of the Apes not only had its own sound to it, but it also captured the feel of all of the other Planet of the Apes movies, which made it really stand out. It was a really good score, and the same thing happens here. He incorporates a lot of the feel of the original Jurassic Park movies, while also bringing some of his own flavor to it, especially as far as terror goes. But you hear that classic theme, you hear it incorporated very well, and then they have their own theme, which was very good. This is a soundtrack I definitely had to download. It's very freaking good. Michael Giacchio for the freaking win. Excuse me. Yeah, I mean, the movie basically is so good in many aspects that it's hard to critique it for me. The characters are very well grounded. The action scenes are astounding. The effects look pretty good. The music is freaking amazing. Cinematography is very good. The story is interesting. And yeah, I mean, there's very little I can criticize about the movie as a whole. I think it's very good. I think it stands up as a very good monster movie, a very good entry in Jurassic Park franchise, the best we've had since the original. And I look forward to seeing more from these movies. I don't know if the director will come back and do it again, but I know Chris Pratt will definitely be back. I'm hoping Bryce Dallas Howard would come back, but maybe she won't. Who knows? All I know is this is a very good movie. I definitely would give it an A, 9 out of 10, and I'm hoping everyone goes to see it. But then again, I don't really have to hope that. I mean, the movie has already broken box office records like crazy. Within 2 days, it got double its budget, more than double its budget back. It made $500 million in just 2 days. And so by the time the movie is out for the usual standard month, it probably will have hit the $1 billion mark, which I'm definitely hoping it will do, because Avengers also made that mark, and Avengers Age of Ultron fucking sucked ass. So many problems with the movie, but this one avoids a lot of that. You know, this one get the right balance of action and humor and making you actually give a rat's ass about what's going on. I mean, as a guy who saw Avengers Age of Ultron and wanted to like it so much, I like certain aspects of it, this is just a much more enjoyable movie. But so far, Jurassic World has been my best movie experience 2015. Mad Max is a very good movie. Very good movie. And it was very original, groundbreaking for what it did for, once again, an older franchise. Ex Machina was very good. And I don't really care for the Fast and Furious franchise, so I didn't really see that latest one. I don't plan on seeing it ever, really. I mean, it's just not my cup of tea. But Jurassic World has been my favorite movie experience so far this year. Not quite a psychological thriller as like Ex Machina, which is a very good movie. Very good movie. I hope everyone saw that one while it was in theaters. But Jurassic World is definitely up there for my top movie experiences of 2015. And hopefully Star Wars will challenge it. I don't think any movie's coming in August, November. Fantastic Four or Hunger Games, for all they may be worth or not. I don't think they'll surpass this one for me, but we'll see. But I highly doubt it anyways. But yeah, wrapping up my review for this movie, it's gone on long enough. This is a very good movie. Everyone should see it. Welcome back, Jurassic Park, guys. It's finally alive again.